Welcome back to Ace Attorney. Whoa, that's rather loud. Let's move it down. There we go. Oh, cutting it out. Not. Is that any better? We'll keep it at 99. But yes, welcome back to Ace Attorney. Checking all my volume sliders and stuff. Hell yeah. Alright, welcome back to Ace Attorney. Uh, the first day was. There were some good parts about it, there were bad parts about it. And you'll notice that this stream is taking place on a Monday. Now there are reasons for that, but I won't get too much into them. Just say that I was busy on Friday. Uh, now I updated XSplit, so I gotta make sure that all my plugins are working all right. It looks like I can still see, or the comments are still visible up there on the side. That's good. I hope everyone's been well. So, last time on Ace Attorney, we started Farewell My Turnabout. This is not only the best case in this game, but it is constantly regarded as like one of the best cases. Uh, Now there's some reasons for that, but we haven't gotten those reasons yet. Well, I guess we got to one of them. Uh, the build up with Edgeworth. He's not dead. He was just away trying to discover what it means to be a prosecutor, what the law means. He went through uh, a journey for himself. Now we didn't see that. We just saw him coming back like, "Hello, I'm back, right?" Uh, we unfortunately saw Old Bag. Hello. So, but the good news is we're gonna get to see Old Bag get whipped in court. We saw the return of Will Powers from the Steel Samurai case. Oh, that's right. Uh, this is the second Steel Samurai case because the client, Old Bag is unfortunately alive. The client is one of the sequel series, the Nickel Samurai. He's kind of stupid. Okay, so I just dropped my laptop. Unfortunately, the stream is still going. Uh, I'm gonna hope that wasn't a bad omen. But yes, the Nickel Samurai is an idiot. The victim is the rival TV series of the Jammin' Ninja. Uh, Gumshoe got fired again, and we got to see a glimpse of Francisca and Miles' relationship because they have like they're basically brother and sister, and you get to see like a glimpse of that in like this case. This is the start. Back when I saw this game like 5 years ago, uh, this is the start of what made me start to actually like Francisca. You might not agree, but there's some other factors too. Other than that, I think that's all we need to know. Oh, I forgot the most important thing. Maya was kidnapped, and we have to prove our client innocent, or we don't see Maya again. It's a little concerning, yeah, and a little motivation for Phoenix. So on to episode 4. Farewell, my turnabout. Part 2. The trial. March 22nd, 9:47 a.m. District Court Defendant Lobby, number 3. And our client's totally innocent. Don't worry about it. Huh, Adrian did it. That's what it looks like. Dude, no way. That woman couldn't do anything like that. Court today, there will be a mountain of evidence that will implicate you. A mountain of evidence. I'm certain there's someone out there who's trying very hard to pin this whole thing on you. Please, Mr. Lawyer. Dude, like I said yesterday, I'm refreshing like a spring breeze, alright? I can't let any sort of sandal. I can't let any sort of, he would say that. I can't let any sort of sandal ruin that. I understand. Hell, it's almost time. Fuck. Mia. I must get a complete acquittal today. I know. I can't focus on Maya's situation right now. Or Pearl's either. No matter what, I have to focus on winning this case by the end of the day. Indeed. Well, let's get going. It's him! This is right! Good morning. This is it, Mr. Turner. The day of the trial. Maya, she's unharmed, right? Well, when I checked on her earlier this morning, she seemed a bit, how shall we say, tired. Don't worry. People don't die. That. Besides, what you should really be concentrating on is winning today's trial. For my sake, as well as yours, you must win today's trial. Which is why I sent you a little present. Present? What in the world would you want to give me? You'll figure it out once the trial starts. And even if you don't like my gifts, I expect you to graciously accept it and win the day's contest. If you wait, fuck. He hung up. The kidnappers sent me a present? Mr. Lawyer, dude? Who was that? That was the pizza guy. No one. It has nothing to do with you, so forget it you heard anything. Dude, did your nose just get longer? March 22nd, 10 a.m., District Court, courtroom number 3. Where's Francisca?
Court is now in session for the trial of Madame God. All the prosecution and defense ready.
The defense is ready, Your Honor.
I say, Mr. Wright, what happened to Miss Von Karma?
I don't know, Your Honor. You're getting mad at me.
Your Honor! Please be quiet, bailiff. Court is in session. If you must tell me something, please keep it brief. Now then, what is it?
Prosecutor Von Karma. This morning, Miss Von Karma was shot by an unknown gunman.
What?
Shot? Somehow, I think this is the present that man was talking about. His present? Von Karma is one of the top prosecutors in the country at the moment. If you were to disappear, it would be to your advantage. This is totally insane. Miss Von Karma, is she alright?
I don't have that answer. She's alive and in stable condition. That's good. Yo!
Thought he'd show up.
Your Honor, due to the circumstances, Miss Francisca Von Karma cannot appear in court today. I, Miles Edgeworth, will be taking her place. The prosecution is ready, naturally. Miss Von Karma was shot in her right shoulder, just like her father, and is currently undergoing surgery. Luckily, I have looked this case over and am familiar with the details. The prosecution seeks to prove the guilt of Mr. Madame God. The court acknowledges the prosecution.
Right. I finally found the answer I was struggling for on my long journey this past year.
By the time this case has come to an end, you too will know the answer. Now then, the prosecution would like to call its first witness. Please bring Detective Gumshoe to the witness stand. Witness, your name and occupation.
My name's Dick Gumshoe, sir. I'm a detective down at the precinct, for now at least.
For now?
After the trial's over, I'm supposed to turn in my badge, sir.
Detective Gumshoe.
The prosecution has no need for a depressed witness. Lift your head up and face forward like the proud officer, Detective Dick Gumshoe.
Yes, sir.
Now let's have your testimony. If we want to explore the various facets of this case, we must start with that.
You ready, Phoenix? This is going to be one very rough fight. Yeah, it would have to be with Edgeworth as my opponent. He was struggling for. Interesting. Tell me this answer you finally found, Ed.
It's my penis.
Bare facts of the case.
The murder happened after the Hero of Heroes Award ceremony, sir. The victim, Juan Corrida, was found dead in the hotel room. After looking into the cause of death, we believed he was definitely murdered, so he was definitely killed. Oh my god. This man's dead. At first we thought there was something suspicious about the empty guitar case. However, we later found out that the guitar case had nothing to do with the murder.
After the award ceremony ended, the victim was alone in his room?
Yes, sir. Both the victim and the defendant went alone to the room, sir.
I see. Mr. Wright, you may begin your cross-examination.
Bare facts of the case.
This murder happened after the Hero of Heroes ceremony, sir.
Would you please give us a brief timeline of what happened after the ceremony?
Okay, pal. The ceremony started at 6 p.m. Ended around 8 p.m. Then there was a short break. A special post-ceremony show was supposed to start in the lobby 30 minutes later. You don't mind if I take a drink, do you? Go ahead.
That's when the victim's body was found, correct? Which is to say, the murder occurred during that 30-minute break period.
Please continue with your testimony, detective. Victim Juan Carrito was found dead in his hotel room.
Are you sure? The person who discovered the victim's body was Adrian Andrews, correct?
Yeah. Who's this Adrian Andrews you're talking about? She's the defendant, Mountain Guard's manager. She's a really pretty lady, sir. Ah, so she's a pretty lady. I wonder if she will grace us with her presence. When the post ceremony started, or was about to start, he went to get Mr. On Guard. After visiting his room, she went to the victim's room to get him for the show, sir. I see. That's when she found the victim's body. After, looking into the cause of death, we believed he was definitely murdered, sir.
Definitely murdered. The cause of death? That wasn't because Mr. Carrito was stabbed in the chest?
Only a careless amateur would believe something so brainless as that, pal. Take a good hard look at the crime photo. Now, a real close attention would be drawn here to this bandana. Banana! His bandana, sir. That's the thing wrapped around his neck, sir. Oh, yes. This banana-scented bandana.
And what about the knife?
It seems to have been struck in the victim's chest on purpose after his death. We have a crafty murder on our hands here.
Juan's autopsy report. Time of death, 8:15 p.m. Cause, strangled with a scarf, then stabbed with a knife. So it sounds like the stabbing was post-mortem. I can't examine.
At first we thought there was something suspicious about the empty guitar case.
And why did you think that?
Because it was empty, pal. Jimmy Ninja doesn't go anywhere without his bright red guitar. And we couldn't find it anywhere at the scene of the crime. Oh, and how about this theory? Don really wanted the guitar and did the crime to get it. How's that? We thought about that too, but
But
the only fingerprints on the guitar case were the victim's.
only the victim. Huh?
I see. So much for my theory, then.
Our case updated in the court record. Empty. There is some water, but only on the top of the lid. Bears Carrita's fingerprint.
However, we later found out the guitar case had nothing to do with the murder.
What convinced you it had nothing to do with the case?
Oh, the guitar case wasn't at the guitar wasn't at the Gateway Hotel that night. Well then, where was it? Well, the bright red guitar was eventually found at the TV studio. Victim Juan Carrita had apparently only taken the case with him, sir. Do you mean he forgot to put the guitar inside the case? Yes, sir. Even when he was on stage for the ceremony, he didn't have his guitar.
So that guitar case was empty even before he got to the hotel.
Yeah, that's right. So it really had nothing to do with the case after all.
I believe that is enough. First, the victim was choked to death with his bandana. Then, after the victim was dead, the killer deliberately stabbed him with a knife. Which brings me to my next point. Why then did the police arrest Matt on guard? Because there was a reason enough to suspect him. Here it comes. Looks like Edward's back in full swing.
Very well, Detective Gumshoe, please testify about this matter. Yes, sir.
Why arrest on guard?
Ed on guard and Juan Corrida were huge rivals with each other. They each thought the other guy was in his way. That's motive enough in my book. As for evidence, there's the German Ninja's button. It's ripped off the ninja costume and found inside Mr. On Guard's Nakama. The defendant's fingerprints were also all over the knife. The defendant bought the knife for the crime, which makes this a premeditated murder. So the defendant's fingerprints were found on the knife used in the stabbing? It was sort of sticky on the handle, so fingerprints came out pretty clearly, sir.
There's the victim's blood on guard's fingerprints. In the grip, Gatewater is engraved.
And there's this button. It was found inside the defendant's clothes, was it? And this button is also covered in blood. Yes, we know that the blood on it is the victim's blood, sir.
What? Shaman Ninja's button was ripped from his costume. It's covered in Corrida's blood, found in Ed on guard. Nakama.
All this points very clearly to the defendant, doesn't it?
Yes, it most certainly does, Your Honor. Ready to give in, right? I'll find the hole in your argument somehow. You can press as hard as you like. Just hurry up with your usual pointless question. Why arrest on guard?
Ed on guard and Juan Corrida were huge rivals with each other.
But in terms of popularity, Mr. On Guard won, did he not?
Yeah, but you know what's ironic, pal? Juan Corrida was always one step behind Mr. On Guard and everything. See, it seemed like he finally caught up, ready for his big final showdown.
But Mr. Corrida lost the Grand Prix in the end.
That is too bad. He must have been pretty downhearted after losing.
He was downhearted after all, because he was dead.
They each thought the other guy was in his way. That's motive enough in my book.
Wait just one second here. Mr. On Guard was beating Mr. Corrida in the popularity poll.
Well, yeah, but
Which means that in the defendant's eyes, the victim was not a rival at all. Which means he had no motive to kill at all.
Yes, I quite agree. Well, detective, it's not, well, I guess if you put it that way, then yeah, the defendant would have no motive.
Detective, I'm beginning to see why you are fired.
No, not you too, Mr. Edgeworth, that's...
I look forward to your pension negotiations.
No! No, detective, let's continue with the testimony. No, not my poor pension, too.
Detective, if you value your money, I suggest you proceed.
Yes, sir. We can talk about my pension later, sir.
What about what I was saying? Hello? Anyone?
As for the evidence, there's the German Ninja's button.
Do you have any proof that the button belonged to the victim?
Huh? What do you mean, pal?
Oh, let me put it this way. I'm asking you if you have any evidence to back up your claim that this button was ripped off of the German Ninja's costume.
Huh? But can't you tell just by looking at it?
No. Explain it to me if I was stupid.
And the victim's blood is on it.
Anyone could have smeared that blood on there afterward.
Mr. Edgeworth, help me, sir.
Alright. I knew it had to be this piece of evidence. Now to reel this one in. A thread. Huh? The button was attached to the costume by thread, obviously. And that thread snapped when the button was torn off. If you match up the ends of the thread on the costume with the thread on the button, it's a perfect match.
Yeah, that's it. They're a perfect match, Bill.
Good. That's Edgeworth for you. Never misses a beat.
Was ripped off the ninja costume. Was found in Mr. On Guard's Hakama.
Uh-oh. When was this button found?
Pretty soon after the body was found, we rounded up everyone who knew Mr. Kurita. And then we did a search on the mall. That's when we found the button. So it was almost immediately after the murder.
The police didn't have the free time to lollygag and play tricks, unlike some people. Hey! What are you trying to say about me here?
Defendants. The defendant's fingerprints were also on the knife. All over the knife.
How were the fingerprints arranged on the knife?
I'm glad you asked. You know how you stab people? Uh-huh. What do you mean, pal?
By examining the fingerprint, you can determine how the defendant held the knife. For example, did he hold it normally or overhand?
Oh, is that what you meant? Well, we didn't actually think of that.
Can't believe the bumbling of this department. Oh, police, were you paying attention to the testimony, Wright? The defendant's fingerprints were all over the knife. There is no way to determine how the knife was held at the moment of the murder.
So is the defendant the owner of this knife, then? The defendant bought the knife for the crime, which makes this a premeditated murder.
But covered in the victim's blood, and a knife with on guard's fingerprint. Grateful the judge were more rash, would have already pounded his gavel in closing. Still in a world of trouble. Well, before any battle, you must find your enemy's weakness. So let's find the weakness in this testimony, no matter how small it may be. Okay, Phoenix?
Head on guard and Juan Carita were huge rivals with each other.
There is no way this was a premeditated murder, even if he bought the knife.
Sorry, pal, this isn't some pocket knife. It doesn't fold, so it's not great for walking around with it either.
Well, this is not good. Prosecution can prove it was a premeditated murder. We're done for. Phoenix. Yeah? Something very interesting about what the detective said just now. Think carefully before it's too late. Button covered in the victim's blood, and a knife with the on-guard's fingerprints. You read this dialogue before. Alright. So he says he bought the knife. That's property of the Gaywater Hotel. Wait a second.
What?
So the basis of your argument that this was a premeditated murder is simply that my client bought a knife beforehand?
That's right, pal. The defendant
Did not buy this knife.
Huh?
Take a good look at the handle of this knife, and you'll see what I'm talking about.
Does Gatewater seal set into the handle? Gatewater? I think I heard that name somewhere before.
That's the name of the hotel. The Gatewater Hotel.
Uh-oh.
The murder knife was actually property of the hotel, which means this murder was not premeditated.
Yes, that is very true. This is a very big. What is it, Mr. Edgeworth?
I'm sorry, but the defense is simply too careless. What? I think whether the crime was premeditated or not has already been determined. How so? I admit this knife is hotel property. There is no one currently on the police force that is dumb enough not to realize this.
But I didn't. Oh.
Oh. The question is, where did this knife come from?
Why, that's obvious. It came from the victim, Mr. Korea's room.
Oh, you would like that, wouldn't you? Sorry, Your Honor, but that is incorrect. The victim ate her last meal before he was murdered. With that being the case, I would like to draw the court's attention to what is on top of the table.
There's a knife and a fork on the table. Then, where in the world did this knife come from?
I'm glad you asked, Your Honor. If it pleases the court, I would like for us to recall the room of the defendant, Mr. Matt on guard. Especially what was on top of his table. There's something missing, perhaps. Is it a single knife? Did that dumb motherfucker use his own knife? We investigated the leftover dishes for fingerprints, and while we were investigating, we came to the conclusion that Mr. Matt on guard's knife was missing. Mr. On guard had gone to the victim's room with the knife he had used during dinner, which is something any normal murderer would do. Why would he carry a knife on a visit? To kill, of course. And with that, I believe the prosecution has proven that this was a premeditated murder.
Amazing, Mr. Edgeworth. Absolutely brilliant. Brilliantly clear deduction.
Seems like Edgeworth had this planned from the very beginning. Must be one of those traps. I just walked headlong into it.
A murder weapon with fingerprints and a button from the victim's costume. There's quite a sizable amount of evidence here.
I can safely say that any further deliberation is a waste of your Honor's time. Although, I wouldn't mind if the defendant were to present evidence not yet shown to the court. Evidence not yet shown means evidence the court hasn't seen yet. In other words, new evidence.
What does the defense have to say about this, Mr. Wright?
Well, Phoenix. The judge is favoring the prosecution right now. We answer with something wrong here. The gavel of his will be ringing out the sound of our defeat.
Mr. Wright, you have something important and necessary to present to this court?
Actually, I do. There's one piece of evidence that catches my eye. Something that this court has yet to see.
Mr. Wright, I will say this one more time. I do not feel this trial needs to continue at all. However, I am giving you one chance, and only one.
What the judge is saying, Wright, is don't try pulling one of your usual bluffs here. I messed this up. It's curtains for all of us.
You may now present one, and only one piece of evidence. Now then, what is this important evidence that you must show to the court?
I'm glad you asked, Your Honor. I don't know if you knew this, but in my profession, you'll find this badge shows that I am an attorney.
This is a wine glass, is it not?
Please look at the photo of the crime scene one more time. The scene is a mess because of the victim's struggle against his assailant. The vase was broken. Makeup is all over the floor. These were all things that were, at one point, sitting on top of the dresser.
Well, yes, I see your point.
However, this glass that is sitting on top of the dresser is mysteriously untouched. The only thing that had not fallen over with everything else is this wine glass. This piece of evidence is more than strange enough to warrant further consideration. Well, what do y'all have to say?
Oh, well, yes, it is a little peculiar.
Yes, isn't it? I thought it was.
You can stop looking at me with those puppy dog eyes of yours now. Mr. Edgeworth?
What is it, Your Honor?
Your opinion?
You don't need my opinion, because there is no special meaning to that glass. What? It's safe to say that the glass was set there after the crime took place. By the person who discovered the body, Adrian Andrews, for example. She could have easily been so shocked that she set the glass down without thinking.
It does sound very plausible, Mr. Wright.
Could Miss Andrews really have set that glass down without thinking? There's no way. If I appear weak here, the trial's over. I can look for my proof later. For now, I should trust my instinct and point with certainty. This might offer. You're thought-provoking enough. The defense would like to bullshit the prosecutor's theory. We would like to see something that proves it was Miss Andrews who set the cup on the table.
You've turned the situation on its head yet again, as usual. Mr. Edgeworth, do you have any proof to back up your claim?
There's no way he has any. He's just bluffing. Unlike Mr. Wright, I never say anything unless I have evidence to support it. What? You're not thinking hard enough today, Wright. Did you think this wine glass escaped my notice? Yeah? Then? Of course it had been thoroughly inspected for fingerprints. Fingerprints? There were only one set of fingerprints left on this wine glass.
Only one? Well, whose were they?
They were not the victims, nor the defendant. Rather, they were one Adrian Andrews. What? Wine glass found next to the victim. It's filled with tomato juice. Bears Andrews' fingerprint. So she was just drinking fucking tomato juice? That is why I said the person who had discovered the body had left it there. Are we done here, Mr. Wright? Can't believe I fell into another trap. Miss Andrews was probably holding the glass when she went to see Mr. Corrida. But upon seeing his dead body, she was stunned and set the glass down on the dresser.
What you said makes a lot of sense.
Now do you see, Wright? You can't change any part of my scenario as it explains everything all too well. I thought long and hard this past year about what it means to be a prosecutor. And from here on out, I will show you the answer that I have come to discover.
Wait a second, Mr. Edgeworth. I think the prosecution has provided enough evidence for me to enter my verdict.
Unfortunately, I cannot allow you to pass judgment yet. The prosecution has yet another witness he would like the court to hear from. Another witness? Yes. Bailiff, please bring in the next witness. What in the world is Mr. Edgeworth thinking? Now then, witness, please state your name and occupation.
Uh-oh.
A witness, your name and occupation. Ugh!
Gotcha.
Ugh! What happened to that calm composure he had earlier?
Oh, Edgy boy. It's been, what, a year since we last met, hasn't it? You should be more happy to see me.
The purpose is not to win. I want to absolutely destroy Wright.
You should be more happy to see me.
I saw the report with her testimony, but who knew that under that helmet? It was the wicked witch of the witness stand.
I tell you, this time I know what I'm supposed to do. So today I'm going to tell you anything and everything. Even things that don't have to do with that terrible crime.
Miss Witness, that terrible crime is all the court needs to know. Okay, just fucking shoot me.
Yes, I'm talking to my dear Edgy Wedgy right now. Don't interrupt us, Gramps.
Yes, madame.
Gramps. Okay. No. Please, by all means, interrupt her, please. Witness your testimony, please.
It's true what they say that the youth are high-headed nowadays. Now that I mind, Edgy. Now then, what should I start with?
The witness was on security detail at the hotel on the night of the murder. Is this correct, Miss Oldbag?
It was a great job being able to see my dearie Juan. It was almost too much for my little heart to handle.
You mean you are a fan of the victim?
Look, everyone is crazy over that young guy saying he's cute in a fresh way or something. But not me. I wouldn't say anything so silly. After all, I have no interest in a child like him. I'm only interested in a real man, Juan Carita.
But those two were the same age.
Anyway, as I was saying, I was pacing in front of his room that night.
Very well. Please tell the court what you witnessed the night of the murder.
Leave it to me, Edgy Poo. What I witnessed. Anyway, after the ceremony, I went to pace around in the hallway in front of his room. There was something I was interested in finding out, you know. Well, since I was on the job, I made sure to keep a good eye out the whole time. That's when someone showed up. It was a man coming out of poor Juan's room. It was on guard. Not on guard. He was trying to sneak his way out of Juan's room.
So Mr. Ungard came out from the victim's room.
See? It has to be him. He's the murderer.
I see. Well, Miss Wright, you may begin your cross-examination.
All right. So, we can go through all her dialogue, or I can go through this quickly.
Anyway, after the ceremony, I went in to pace around in the hallway in front of his room.
Why? Miss Oldbag, what was your post that night?
Oh, I wasn't supposed to be there. The lobby. I was supposed to help set up the stage for that trifling show. But I refused to help, you know. It was for that lead-headed samurai show. I even took out a few of the nails.
It was a good thing the show didn't go on.
Besides, that manager with the glasses seemed to be working hard at it without me. So I thought I'd take a break and spread my wings a little.
That's when you went to hang around the victim's door?
There was something I was interested in finding out, you know.
Something you were interested in? And just what is that?
It's not some little thing I can go around telling everybody, especially in a court of law where they require me to be 100% honest. It's top secret. Me and Juan. An edgy pool, of course.
Mr. Edgeworth, what is this thing she was interested in?
I have no idea. I despise gossip, Your Honor. Gossip. But should it prove relevant, I can always have it appended to a testimony later.
It's like we shouldn't force it right now.
Another witness stay in the vicinity of the victim's door the entire time?
Well, since I was on the job, I made sure to keep a good eye out the whole time.
Oh, and would you tell us the number of people who went in and out of Mr. Frida's room?
I'm glad you asked. I have no idea.
Oops. Hi, I'll do a quick recap. Francisca von Karma got shot, and Edgeworth is here. Okay, let's continue.
I have no idea. I wasn't born so I could count things for those who didn't pay attention in class. That's why ever since I turned 20, I quit keeping track of how old I really am.
Yes, that would explain why your age was not included in the report.
In any case, the witness then saw someone, correct?
That's when someone showed up. It was a man coming out of poor Juan's room.
Who in the world was that?
I'm not allowed to say. This sort of information has to be carefully guarded from the masses, Sonny. The man that came out of Juan's room, he was.
Yes, he was.
I forgot. I'm too scared. I can't say his name out loud.
Oh, what I wouldn't give to have Francisca's whip right about now.
Well, I guess I can tell you since he was such a bad boy in a way. He was on guard. Right on guard. He was trying to sneak his way out of Juan's room.
Saw my client? Are you sure about that?
Yes, sir.
Really?
Knowing, Brad, when I say I saw someone, I saw that person.
How do I get a sense of deja vu? Maybe to avoid a repeat of last year. I should delve into this a little bit further. Please tell the court about the man's clothes in more detail.
What a troublesome man you really are. Really, as if something like that matters.
But it does.
Now was it? Oh, yes, it was that thing.
What thing?
That gaudy thing he's always wearing. That racing jacket.
Ah, he was wearing that at the detention center, too.
That thing's meant for nothing but seducing women out of their pantaloons. Man.
Right.
Well, Mr. Wright, was this testimony just now important or relevant in any way?
It was very important. Of course it was important, Your Honor. Then perhaps you would like to point out what part of that testimony was important. Don't you see it, Edgeworth? Your Honor, I request what the witness said about the jacket be appended to her testimony.
I don't see where you're going with this, but all right, witness, please.
I will. I don't like to badmouth anyone without reason, but if I must, I'm about to ruin his fucking career. He was wearing his flashy racing jacket. Honestly, it's just for show.
Are you sure the defendant was wearing a racing jacket?
What do you think? It's not like I've seen him in anything other than that horrible thing. I'm sure he was wearing it.
She's so sure of herself that, to the point of self-absorption, she may not remember things or be mistaken here and there. But I don't think she's lying. That's bad for us. Really bad.
That's how the human mind is. It also has the tendency to jump off topic. She's straight onto a very few interesting side topics this time too, hasn't she? That's what makes her a sweet old lady, right? Because you're not the one who has to question her. Anyway, there was something, that's when someone, it was on guard. He's wearing his flashy racing jacket. Uh-oh! Your Honor, that statement contradicts this evidence.
No! It does? I don't see anything contradictory. Huh?
Really?
Objection denied. Try and think before you make accusations, Mr. Wright.
Whoops. That didn't go so well. He's wearing his flashy racing jacket. Honestly, it's just for show. Miss Oldbag. Well, don't say my name for no reason.
Do you know what this is?
It's button number 2 on Jammin' Ninja's costume. Now I know she's an obsessed fan. She identified it in a single glance. Give it here, give it here. If you don't give it to me, I'll punish you with this. Wow, she really is a diehard fan to want a button covered in blood. This button was discovered on Mr. On Guard's body during a full body search. See? See? This button proves us beyond a shadow of a doubt that it was that rascal on guard.
Are you okay, ma'am?
No. It was caught up in the pleats of his nickel samurai Hakama pants. See? See? And On Guard is the nickel samurai. Witness? Now, it may just be me, and I do have an active imagination. But just now, didn't you say that the defendant, Matt On Guard, was wearing his usual racing jacket? I'm so sorry. Sorry that you judge people based on what they wear. I wore the trendiest dress, but instead I had put up with one ridiculous looking out for you to read this outfit. It's hideous, right? It's got timber quarter circle meshes. Let me tell you, it's heavy. Sorry, I wish I would switch cities ages ago, but I keep that dream of life all those kind of there with a high smile on my face. See, I understand now. Look in the mirror. Your clothes are about as interesting as documented and curling, and you should take a temperature revenge, but he's got style.
Now hold your tongue still for just 1 second. So, what you saw in actuality was not Mr. On Guard, the man, but Mr. On Guard, the nickel samurai.
But when you think about it, they're really one and the same anyway. Miss Oldbag, this is a very important point we're talking about. Edgy Pooh, don't you think so too? Well, it might be something worth considering. Just say it's important and agree with me for a change.
Witness, think carefully and try and remember as much as you can before you testify.
Alrighty, if you insist. I should be the one sighing, not you. Who I saw? On guard. Yes, now I remember. A nickel samurai, that's right. It was the nickel samurai I saw. Yes, it would have been convenient for him to wear his costume during the murder. He had to go to that post-ceremony show right after the crime, you know. So he must have worn that nickel samurai costume when he was stabbing poor Juan.
I knew it. I knew you'd say he was inside that costume.
What? Did you think there could have been someone else inside that costume? Don't be such a bad little boy. I'm thinking such rude things.
The possibility does exist. The judge isn't gonna fucking send her to jail for perjury.
No, you might lie in court the first time. You might lie in court the second time. But, by golly, when you lie the 15th time, that's when we're going to slap your wrist.
They're youngins today. I told you there's no way it was anyone else.
How did you know that?
Because I said so, and what I said is the truth.
At least she's just as delightful a witness as she was a year ago.
Mr. Wright, you may cross-examine the witness.
Alright.
On guard. What are you doing? Nickel Samurai, that's right. He was the Nickel Samurai that I saw. Yes, it would have been convenient for him to wear his costume during the murder. He had to go to that post-ceremony stage show right after the crime, you know. So he must have worn that Nickel Samurai costume when he was stabbing poor Juan.
Please take a look at this.
Yes, it was a knife. Big deal. You're trying to scare me with that. I have you know it won't work. I got my fucking machete here.
Whoa, put that down.
No, that's not my intention at all.
That's the knife that was used in the murder, correct?
Your Honor, you know why this piece of evidence is important to this case?
You don't even have to ask, because the defendant's fingerprints are on it.
Is that what you're driving at? Yes. That is exactly what I'm driving at.
What are we driving at? Whose car are we driving?
If Mr. On Guard was really in the Nickel Samurai costume at the time of the murder, it's impossible for his fingerprints to have been left on this knife. Actually, he would have wiped all previous fingerprints on this knife right off.
Oh, that's right. The Nickel Samurai wears gloves, doesn't he?
Objection! As the biggest Nickel Samurai fan, he probably took his gloves off before he began the stabbing. He wouldn't soil such perfect gloves like that. And why would he do something like that? To leave his prints on the murder weapon? There is no way he would do something like that. However, there's one possibility. And let's hear your possibility. It's very simple. The defendant went to the victim's room while in costume as the Nickel Samurai. At that time, the defendant had no intent to murder. He was probably just going to relax and talk with the victim about the stage show. Which is why he took his gloves off.
The murder still did take place.
It's well known that there was bad blood between the victim and the defendant.
Yes, I have heard that before. Well, Miss Wright, what do you have to say about Mr. Edgeworth's theory?
But let me get this straight. Edgeworth's theory goes like this. The defendant went into the victim's room. He had no intention of killing. Now, up to this point, are there any problems with this theory? There is a contradiction. This theory contradicts something in an earlier testimony.
What are you babbling about?
Now, for argument's sake, let's suppose Mr. On Guard was the killer. If that's the case, I think it's possible for the killer to have gone to the victim's room without intent. This knife, this was used by Mr. On Guard at dinner.
That's dinner. Yes, we did establish that.
Which means that if my client was in fact the killer, and he brought this knife to with him when he went to visit Mr. Kurita. I suppose. However, you just said it yourself. At that time, the defendant held no intent to murder. What he felt like it later.
Oh, oh, oh yeah, I guess I'll just kill the guy. Yeah, I'll just, I don't know if I'm gonna kill him or not, so I'm just gonna bring this knife over. You know, just in case I feel like killing him.
If that were true, then why would he bring a knife? He wouldn't, would he? Which means, Mr. Edgeworth, your theory is flawed from supposition 1. And one more thing. If the murderer was wearing the costume at the time of the murder, then there should be glove marks left on the knife. Which means the defendant's fingerprints shouldn't have been all over it like a bees on a hive. That brings me to my final point. This knife was planted by the real killer to hide their identity and mislead us.
Order! Order, I say! Order on the court! Was this knife really planted by the killer? Why would the murderer do such a thing?
To frame Matt on guard. Just to frame my client, Mr. On Guard, of course.
The frame?
Aren't you forcing the misinterpretation just a little too hard on this one? But we just established that the witness saw the nickel samurai in costume. If that were true, then there shouldn't have been a single fingerprint on this knife.
Witness!
Yeah? Looks like I made your life a little tiny bit more difficult, huh, Edgy Poo?
Witness, did you or did you not really see the nickel samurai?
Well, I guess at first I might have forgotten, but...
Are you saying you mixed up Mr. Matt on Guard with the nickel samurai, his character on TV?
But I mean, I can't really do anything about that now. Look, I was just waiting around in front of their doors because, well, I wasn't waiting around for the nickel samurai, that's for sure.
He wasn't waiting for the nickel samurai. Alright then. Who were you waiting around for then?
That's top secret to anyone outside of security.
I have a feeling that you are waiting for Mr. Juan Kurita. Am I correct, witness?
Shit. The way you think, you really are a sad amateur with a terrible case of nearsightedness.
Amateur? Me? What am I an amateur of?
Old bag was waiting around in front of the victim. Doesn't sound like she was waiting to catch a glimpse of Mr. Kurita. Maybe the old bag was waiting around for that person. If it's who I think Mia's hinting at, it's certainly possible. Miss Oldbag! You were waiting around for this person to come out of the victim's room, weren't you? I'm an attorney. What are you talking about? You could have waited until the next surgery and this would have never appeared. Ouch. Busted. Guess there's no fooling her.
You two, what do you think you're doing flirting in my courtroom?
You weren't doing anything like that. Well, back to the drawing board on this one. Old Bag was waiting around in front of the victim.
Mr. Wright, it seems you're experiencing technical difficulty.
Yes, Your Honor. Miss Oldbag, you were waiting for this person to come out of the victim's room, weren't you?
Now, Phoenix, don't fucking present your badge a second time.
Who is this person?
This is Adrian Andrews. She's Mr. On Guard's manager. Uh-oh. Is that any better? Testing. The great big box. Phoenix in my, quote, my Phoenix. Quick brown fox jumped over the fence. Or however it goes. Oh well. This is Adrian Andrews. Mr. On Guard's manager.
But why would the Finnish manager be in the victim's room?
It seems that this is the latest rumor in speculation, Your Honor.
Oh, well. Oh, well. I see.
That's really distorted. It can be called such a thing.
Yes, let me just lean in a little bit more. Oh, that's the problem. I twisted my thing a little. Yes, I think this should be a little better.
Oh, wait, I'm at 70. Okay, we're at 100 now. Okay. Now I just gotta remember to face the mic the whole time and not, like, turn my head
While I'm doing these silly voices. Oh,
Judge seems to be really into the article. It can be called such a thing.
and this manager with the initials AA. Are you saying it's Ace Attorney?
Adrian Andrews, without a doubt. The witness thought so as well. Looks like you found me out. Well, that's fine. I can throw away this whole sworn to confidentiality stuff then.
Witness, what in the world are you?
Watch out, Phoenix. I got a bad feeling about this. A very bad feeling.
I got some information, some very secret information from a certain source. That's why I was doing my own little investigation, in secret, of course.
But what for?
Just for myself, personal reasons and all that.
Well, Mr. Edgeworth, how will you proceed from here?
I really don't want to do this. However, I simply cannot let this point slide.
I see. Well then, witness, please testify about the secret information.
Get ready. This is gonna take the winds out of you youngins.
Sure, we're all capable of handling this. Really. Not like we're 10 years old. Secret information.
That on guard is one evil man. He thought he could ruin poor Juan by causing a huge scandal. So to do that, he sent his own manager to get in close with Juan. I could not condone such a dirty trick, so I took action. Oh, and this is top secret. You got that? Nobody but you and me know yet, okay?
The defendant sent his manager, with a distasteful topic for the score.
What? Nobody's above gossip. And isn't there a saying? Truth is never pleasant.
Never heard of that one before.
Mr. Edgeworth, what about this Adrian Andrews person?
We have looked into this matter and found that the truth this article proposes is in fact baseless gossip.
Actually, I think that's quite based, Your Honor.
But should this be true, then this proves that the defendant did bear ill will towards the victim.
So this means I have to smash this rumor once and for all.
Now then, Mr. Wright, you may cross-examine the witness.
Be careful. The old bag seems rather excited right now.
That's right. On guard is nothing but your average foul-blooded youth.
Well, as the old saying goes, you gotta burn old bags with fire. Time to fire up the afterburners. Hit the highway to the danger zone. I would play a sound effect there, but Jeff Bezos himself would kill me. Secret information.
That on God is one evil, evil man.
Can't say something like that without proof. That's just slander.
But it's true. That woman was getting intimate with poor Juan. Look, it says so right here, doesn't it? Manager to the stars, Miss A.A.
The name of the magazine this came from is Gossipland.
What? Are you saying the gossip is just a pack of lies? What do you know? I suppose next you'll swear to me that the news is 100% truth. Honestly, Sonny, you can't discriminate between the news and gossip.
Yes, discrimination is bad, Mr. Wright.
Discriminate? When did I do anything like that?
Anyway, on God will never get to me to say touche. He thought he could ruin poor Juan by causing this poor scandal.
Scandal? What do you mean by that?
You're a dim-witted one, aren't you? I can't believe you don't know what a scandal is. Those kind of little, another word for them is called flip-flops. Honestly, what are they teaching kids in middle school these days?
No, I wasn't asking what the word scandal means. Even I know that much.
Well, that ungod thought he could own a monopoly on popularity. So to do that, he sent his own manager to get in close with Juan.
You don't have any proof that Mr. On Guard did any such thing.
You must be suffering from shock. The shock of hearing the truth. Now, since you're in so much shock, you can't do anything right.
You're right, I can't do anything. But boy, do I wish I could do something about you.
Alright then, Sonny. Let me show you what I got. Can you show me any proof that On Guard didn't bear ill will towards Juan?
I don't have anything to offer.
See, just as I thought. And you were lecturing me about saying things without proof. You've just given me a free pass to say whatever I want, whenever I want, silly boy.
In my big mouth.
And trust me, I'm gonna abuse that for the one more case that I appear in. That's the way the cookie crumbles for you anyway. I cannot condone such dirty tricks, so I took action.
So, what do you mean by I took action?
Like I already told you, I was lying in wait close to the crime scene. Once that slimy woman came out of Juan's room, I was gonna capture her and teach her a good lesson. Something you young'uns need.
You're going to teach her a good lesson?
Yes, I was gonna strangle her. I was gonna make her eat the damaging beams of my ray gun. Like this.
No, stop! The damaging beams!
Well, it was too bad that woman didn't come through the door that night. Oh, and this is top secret. You got that? No one else but you and me knows, okay? Wait. What? I'm a busy woman. Tea time with the kids is over.
Secret information that no one else knows yet. If that's true, then how do you know this secret information?
Huh? Well, it's because I'm a pro. Yes, that's it. It's a secret. Even if you drill a hole in my brain, you'll never find out.
How in the world did that old bag get such a secret piece of information? So no one else is supposed to know this secret information, correct? If that's true, then why do you know it, Miss Oldbag?
Why are you looking at me like that? Stop that.
Witness. I hate to say it, but this is how you came to acquire your secret info, isn't it? The investigative photographer, Lotta Hart.
Oh yes, I remember that mischievous girl.
She reported that she had lost a certain note she had written to herself.
You reported such a thing?
On that piece of paper, she had written down some of her impressions about what the relationship between the victim and Miss Andrews.
Outrageous ideas, you say?
No. I said impressions.
Then, and everything written on this piece of paper is completely meaningless?
Ah, that's it. That's the note.
Ah. No, you see, this is something completely different. This is my top secret list of groceries to buy.
Then you are the one who took Miss Hart's notes.
I'm a huge fan of Juan. That's why. That infamous puffy-haired whippersnapper. She's working with that evil on guard. She said so herself. On guard, I'm his sidekick. She was so happy, smiling like a silly duck. I was only checking what she had written. Then I kept it. Itchy-poo, you believe me, don't you? Ugh. I was only trying to help like the angel I am. It's only one little piece of paper. I've never taken anything else before.
You really should come with a supply of cheese to match your vintage wine.
Well,
It's only a piece of paper. I suppose we can overlook this just this once.
She looks like she's really sorry. Should I forgive her? Pile more pressure. If I let up on her now, she'll get away. I have to accuse her of murder. I have to find some way to inflict a deafening blow to this prosecution. Witness. You said that the only thing you stole was that note. Is this correct?
no. Why don't you listen more carefully, you annoying brat? I saved this piece of paper from the terrible, lonely trash can, that's all.
You're lying, damn it, and I can prove it.
Are you putting my credibility under scrutiny again? I will rip your fucking balls off.
Miss Oldbag. I don't believe that the note is the only thing you stole that night. Miss Oldbag. That note was with a camera inside its case, wasn't it?
A camera?
Yesterday, Lotta Hart was raising a huge stink over her camera. She kept saying something like, my sweetie, $1,600 camera disappeared on me.
Why, witness!
What is it, Gramps?
If you have the notes, then it's only logical that you have the camera too.
Ugh. Looks like you found me out again, Sonny. Is this the camera that you're looking for?
Ah, that's...
What? Even though I look like this, I'm still a person, you know. I still eat meals like you. I fall in love, and I borrow things from people.
I think your definition of power was a little off.
So what if I took her credit card and her social security card and her keys? I saw that woman's business card, and that's when I noticed it said, Slimebag Celebrity Photographer Extraordinaire. When I saw that, I had to know what sort of pictures she had taken. I'm a professional security guard. It's my business to know these things.
Bailiff, take this camera's photos. Hurry! We must examine them at once.
They're all porn.
Well, Mr. Edgeworth, what do we have?
There's only one photo that seems relevant to the case. All these others were destroyed along with the camera.
Please present it to the court. This is the Nickel Samurai.
Yeah, I told you, that's the guy I saw.
This proves the witness was not lying earlier about the matter.
Lotta's photo. Picture taken in the hallway, right after murder. This has been added to the court record.
What does this all mean, Mr. Edgeworth?
This photo by itself does not prove that the person in it is the defendant. However, in his own confession, Mr. On Guard clearly stated that at the time of the murder, he was still in his Nickel Samurai costume.
If that's the case, then this Nickel Samurai is...
The defendant.
How did it come to this? I think this brings us to the end. We have examined every piece of evidence thoroughly. Final comments, Mr. Wright. Court will consider them before we close. Do you agree that this photo is decisive evidence against your client?
This photo really is the decisive, and we're done for. If I raise an objection here and blow it, I would put Maya's life in jeopardy. Can't make a mistake here. There's only one road out of this mess. This photo that Lotta took, there's nothing strange with it. There's something strange with it. There's something strange with this photo.
I knew this was coming, right?
Your thoughts, Mr. Edgeworth?
I think we can all agree that there's nothing strange with this photo. There's no way for the defense to debunk this photo either, even with a bunker buster.
Debunk with a bunker buster? Is that what you're planning to do, Mr. Wright?
Anyway, please look at the photo one more time.
If you really believe you can honestly find something wrong with this photo, then you should only need one chance, correct?
Well, find something wrong with this photo. I can't let this chance go by. Where in the heck did she take this photo from anyway? It's all out of focus. Why can't she take a good shot, especially when it counts?
Now then, let's hear your objection. What about this photo is strange?
I would like to direct the court's attention to this one area right here.
What are you pointing to? His ankles?
If you could see this person's ankles, that would be one thing. However, you can't.
And? What does that mean?
The costume person in this photo could not have been Mr. On Guard.
What is the meaning of this?
I wonder if you would care to elaborate with actual facts, that is.
Let's take a look at the Nickel Samurai's poster.
I know what the samurai poster looks like.
Please pay particular attention to the area around the bottom of the hakama.
His socks! You can see his socks!
Exactly. However, in this photo... Hello, and welcome to the stream. I see you playing Hat in Time. I saw the Steam notification. The Nickel Samurai is clearly holding his kama up just to walk. There's only one explanation for this. The person inside this costume is clearly much shorter than the defendant. You're right, I didn't see a thing. Alright. I think I've turned things around for myself, this time. That's curious. Huh? What is? Edgeworth is unusually calm today. That's true. But you don't know him like I do.
Someone just said misinformation about his favorite character online, and he's going to fucking lose it. Just letting the trial run itself, as if he's only along for the ride. Along for the ride? What do you mean by that? I can only guess that perhaps he doesn't feel under attack at all. He doesn't feel under attack. Then I haven't damaged his case at all?
Mr. Edgeworth, where does this leave us?
I'm glad you asked.
The person inside his photo is not mad on guard. Then everything the prosecution has tried to prove has become meaningless.
I figured it would come to this. What? Right. I have something I want to ask you. I think you have proven that the person inside the costume is not Matt on guard. In that case, who is this a photo of? Who is the person wearing the nickel samurai costume? Don't stress out over this one, Phoenix. Very simple. What you should be focused on is Edgeworth's attitude, don't you think? Yeah. Why is he so calm?
Mr. Wright, let's hear your thoughts. Where's the person in this photograph?
I'm glad you asked. I'm going to present my badge a third time.
Adrian Andrews.
If you want to know who that nickel samurai is, it is none other than this woman. And why would you say that it must be Miss Andrews? What in the world points you to her? For starters, she's short. And she can freely move in and out of Mr. On Guard's room. Finally, she had dinner with Mr. On Guard that night.
I wonder how does that all add up?
It means that it makes it very easy for her to get a certain item. A certain knife with Mr. On Guard's fingerprints all over it.
The knife that was used as a murder weapon.
Why don't you just say what it is you want, Wright? I have to do this now. This is my last chance to turn things around. The defense moves to indict Miss Adrian Andrews in the murder of Juan Carita. It was Miss Andrews who tried to frame the defendants for the crime.
Order! 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 It looks like this trial has hit a most unexpected developments. Mr. Edgeworth,
Yes, Your Honor.
this court is issuing a subpoena for Miss Adrian Andrews. The verdict cannot be passed first without hearing her testimony.
All right. This is it. This is kind of bad for us. Huh? What do you mean? If Adrian Andrews is summoned to court as a witness, it means that the trial will go on for another day. One more day. If I don't get a verdict today, then Maya.
Now then, shall we set for Mr. Andrews' testimony for tomorrow?
What am I supposed to do? The judge is about to join the court.
Now then,
Please, Your Honor, continue the trial. You must pass a verdict today.
no, I can't do that. We cannot hear Miss Andrews' testimony if she is not.
I abhor wasting such valuable time. Edgeworth? Your Honor, I request that you please continue with today's trial.
We cannot continue due to this unexpected developments.
Unexpected developments? I think you underestimate me, Your Honor.
What do you mean by that?
That Mr. Phoenix Wright would slave his way to a subpoenaing Miss Adrian Andrews is all happening according to plan, even if Wright was a bit slow to catch on. What?
What is the meaning of your statement, Mr. Edgeworth?
Miss Adrian Andrews is currently waiting in the prosecution's lobby. She's the next witness. Everything was planned out in advance by that man? Somehow, I knew there was no way Miss Edgeworth could overlook Miss Andrews. Like this battle's far from over. Exactly.
Very well. We'll call the next witness. However, before we proceed, we shall take a 10-minute recess. Please prepare your witness for in that time, Mr. Edgeworth. This court will now take a 10-minute recess. I'm going to go play on the monkey bars.
To be continued in the middle of court. Now this part is shorter than the old bag section, but we're still only going to do the trial today. We are going to finish it though.
Dude, I can't believe that Adrian, no way, not cool, and collected Adrian Andrews.
He is your manager. It would have been very easy for her to pull this off. The only person who had easy access to the knife you used at dinner was, well, her.
But after the ceremony, during the break? Oh. I was sleeping like a log the entire time.
See? She could have also easily planted that blood-covered button in your hakama.
Because she was the one that came to wake me up? Then, dude, you're saying it was really her?
Yes. She's the real killer. She was the one that murdered Juan Carita.
But why? I thought she was buds with Juan.
She has her own agenda.
Her own agenda, then? What are you talking about?
I'm sure you'll see by the time this trial's over. It'll be alright. I'll get you acquitted by the end of today.
Give me a verdict that's refreshing like a spring breeze, okay, Mr. Lawyer Dude?
Phoenix. I think her motive is related to Celeste Impact's... Okay. This is where the content warning comes up. This won't become a big part of the trial, because Phoenix did promise not to bring it up, even though he fucking broke that promise with Pearl. But, it's going to be brought up. Yes. Miss Andrews depended on Miss Impact as her strength and reason to live. That's also pretty bad. Then Miss Impact suddenly killed herself. It sounded like she left a suicide note, and the person thought to have hidden it. It's Juan Carita, the victim of this murder. And that's why I think that Miss Andrews got close to Mr. Carita. All to get a suicide note back. It sounds plausible. One thing bothers me. What? Who was it that first told us about the relationship? Better stated, Miss Andrews' dependency issues with regards to Miss Impact. It was Edgeworth. It's like he's still the one in command of the ship. Don't let your guard down yet. March 22nd, 2:25 p.m. District Court, Courtroom, number 3.
All will now reconvene. Now then, Mr. Edgeworth, if you please.
The prosecution calls the witness subpoenaed by this court. Miss Adrian Andrews, person who discovered the crime in Mr. Juan Carita's room. What is your occupation? I'm glad you asked. I hunt fucking aliens. I'm the manager of the defendant in this case, Mr. Matt Ungar.
I see. Now then.
Before we begin, Your Honor, I have one request.
Yes, sure. What is it?
I'm sure everyone in this room is wondering the same thing. I would love to find out more about my relationship with Victor. After all, it was the topic of a certain weekly magazine.
Oh no, I have no idea what you mean. I've never even heard of Gossipland.
If the judge was ever a prosecution witness, he'd do all my work for me. Anyway, I was wondering if you could please tell us about your relation to the victim?
Yes. I was seeing Mr. Kurita. I was also aware of the rivalry that existed between Matt and Juan. But it was a private matter between Juan and myself.
So it was a fry and bait matter, or was that bait and fry? Reminds me of fishing.
But I didn't kill him.
No one is accusing you of that. Not yet, at least.
I think there's someone who would beg to differ.
I think we all understand your relationship with the victim now, Miss Andrews.
Very well, then. Witness, please testify to the court about what happened when you discovered the murder that had taken place. When I found the body.
It was time for a show to start, so I went to get Matt from his room. After that, I went to Juan's room. And there was his dead body. I was in shock. What I saw was naturally the same scene as in the crime scene photo. I felt as though I was about to faint, so I poured myself a glass of juice.
You poured yourself a glass of juice.
Yes, sadly, I didn't remember not to touch things at the scene of a crime. I disturbed the crime scene by moving this one thing.
And that is when the fingerprints in the wine glass were made, Your Honor.
I see. Well, Miss Wright, you may cross-examine the witness.
Phoenix. He's one cool and collected customer. He has the brains to match. Yeah, I was just fucking thirsty. Like, I saw him dead. I'm like, oh, shit. Well, there's some tomato juice here. I might as well just pour myself a drink.
Yes, I know.
In order to catch a person like her, you have to avoid head-on confrontations. You should disrupt her pacing.
Disrupt her pacing?
She's the type of woman who is easily thrown off by things and is consistent with her thinking. So you have to attack when she least expects it. The instant you let up on your offense is the instant this trial is over. Understand?
When I found the body.
It was time for the show to start, so I went to get Matt from his room.
What was Mr. On Guard doing at the time?
He was taking a nap. He was worn out from his mini performance at the Nickel Samurai during the ceremony.
Mr. On Guard did say he was taking a nap. I guess you could say it could not have been taken out of his room, yes?
Excuse me? What are you...
Right, I thought years of school would have taught you how to construct a sentence. If you can't make a sensible sentence with a subject, then I'll make one for you. Watch. Did you, Miss Andrews, remove Mr. On Guard's knife from his room?
No.
Subject, verb, object, right? Did you skip basic grammar? The witness may continue.
After that, I went to Juan's room. Don't present that now. Don't fucking die.
And why did you do that?
As a friendly gesture, Juan was to make an appearance with the other hero.
So the show was supposed to be a show of friendship, huh? I should back off. As long as I don't have any proof, she's not going to talk. May we continue now, witness? What did you see when you got to his room?
There was his dead body, and I was in shock.
You were in shock?
What was I not supposed to be?
Sanders is a very calculating person. Despite how close they were, I doubt she had romantic feelings for Mr. Burrito. Anyone randomly stumbling upon a dead body would be in shock. And you can't seriously expect that a young beauty like her would not be shocked. Somehow, I don't think beauty has anything to do with being shocked or not.
I see.
What I saw was naturally the exact same scene as in the crime scene photo.
This is the photo you're referring to, correct?
Yes, the one with the knife lodged in his chest.
And the guitar case was like this too?
Yes, it was open and empty, of course.
And then what did you do next, witness?
I felt as though I was about to faint, so I poured myself a glass of juice.
Juice.
Yes, there's a bottle of tomato juice on the table, so I helped myself.
You didn't drink any of it, did you?
No, I fainted because I didn't drink my juice. Huh?
There were no lip marks left on this wine glass to suggest that anyone drank from it.
I wasn't feeling terribly great, though. I set the glass down without drinking.
Miss Andrews, I would like to confirm with you one more thing. When you discovered the dead body of Juan Carita, you were in great shock. And that's when you poured yourself the glass of juice, correct?
And what of it? My mind really was a complete blank at the time.
Your mind was a complete blank? I didn't think that was possible for you.
Aren't you rude today? I was so dazed that I made one careless mistake. That one thing.
What one thing?
Never mind. It's no big deal.
What was she starting to say just now? Miss Andrews, I'm convinced that you said you made a mistake at the scene of the crime. What I really want to know is what this mistake was. Actually, so would I.
I'm sorry. It's kind of embarrassing. When I set the glass down on the dresser, I accidentally knocked the flower vase over.
Flower vase? Are you talking about the one on the floor? The crime photo? This mess of glass shards?
It was originally on top of the dresser, but when I bumped into it with my elbow, it fell onto the guitar case.
Why did you withhold such an important piece of information?
I'm sorry. I thought that the crime scene was already in disarray. The people would simply assume the vase was just another part of the mess.
It looks like yet another fact has come to light here. Please add this and add anything else you have to reveal to your testimony.
I'm sorry, but I have nothing more to add. I didn't touch anything else. I was the one who knocked the flower vase over, where it fell onto the guitar case.
Doesn't sound like there's any glaring contradictions in her testimony just now.
I warned you earlier that she would not crack so easily. The only way to make her is to
Keep on the offensive and not let up.
the only way you're going to catch her is with some very strong, decisive evidence.
I have to find something. I just have to, for Maya's sake. Is that the only reason?
I beg your pardon? What are you implying?
You had a certain goal in mind when you started to get close to him, correct? Oh, no, I didn't want to do that. So perhaps you had a more personal matter to discuss with the victim.
Sorry, but I didn't have such intentions in mind at the time.
Can't get her to talk without a strong piece of evidence, I guess. May we continue now, witness? Did you see when you got to his room? What kind of flower vase was it?
It was a glass vase, and it was fairly big and heavy. I thought I would try to take Juan's pulse, so I set the glass as I was holding down on the dresser. That's when my elbow accidentally hit the vase.
Not yet. I was worried that he was about to bring it up. That I accidentally was about to bring it up with optional dialogue. but no, he didn't. I'll warn you when it happens, because it's very bad. That's odd. I thought she was always in control of herself. That's what she would like people to think. Always be mindful of the gap between your perception and reality. It sounds like there's any glaring contradictions in her testimony just now. I warned you earlier that she would not crack so easily. The only way to make her is to play on the offense and not let up. The only way you're going to catch her is with some very strong, decisive steps. You have to find something. You just have to. For Maya's sake. It fell onto the guitar case. You testified that you knocked the flower vase over. Is this correct?
Yes.
Are you sure it fell onto the guitar case?
Is there some problem with what I just said?
Not some problem. It's a major problem. It's true that the top of the guitar case was wet with water. However, that's exactly what is so strange. Miss Andrews, you testified that the vase fell onto the guitar case. However, if that was true, the case should have gotten wet on the inside, not the outside.
That's very true.
Furthermore, there is one other strange thing about this case.
And what is that?
Let's take another look at the crime scene photo. Remains of the vase are scattered on the floor. What is wrong?
And what is wrong with that?
When the guitar case was open, if the guitar case was open when the vase fell, the glass shard should be inside, not outside the case.
Ah,
What is your point, Wright? If the case was closed at the time the vase was knocked over? Is that all?
No. Think back to what Miss Andrews testified to. She said that other than that, the vase, she didn't touch anything else.
Yes, that's right. She did implicitly say she didn't touch the guitar case.
I'm gonna keep knocking that over. Fuck.
But this whole matter with the guitar case is a dead end. The bright red guitar was found in the studio. It has no bearing on the case at all.
I think you're failing to consider, Edgeworth. It may very well be, however... the guitar case does seem like it has no relation to this case, does it?
It seems there's no deeper meaning to the guitar case. Well, Miss Wright, do you think we need to hear any more details about the guitar case?
Make her testify. The empty guitar case. I believe this is a crucial piece of the puzzle. That shit.
I can't believe anyone would reach for such straws like this. But it is you.
Can't believe I'm doing this either.
Alright, I'll follow along. For now. Miss Andrews, please testify to the court about the guitar case.
yes, Your Honor.
The guitar case.
I don't remember too clearly because I was a bit. I suppose I must have opened the guitar case after I knocked the vase over. It's not a big deal though. The case was empty after all. As for why I opened the case, even I don't.
It looks like this really wasn't a very important point. Penalty points for you, Wright. This wastefulness is such a familiar feeling by now that it's almost comforting.
Anyway, I'll just go ahead and start the cross-examination.
Using any way to change the topic for change the topic. A convenient escape for a weak man.
the guitar case?
I don't remember too clearly because I was a bit dazed. I suppose I must have opened the guitar case after I knocked the vase open.
During your testimony just now, did you remember those events clearly in your mind?
Well, see,
Are you sure you were the one who opened the guitar case?
she's wanting for someone to tell her if she should answer or not.
Sounds like her dependence side is taking over.
Well, Miss Andrews,
Yes, it was me. I suppose I must have opened the guitar case after I knocked the vase over.
So, you opened the guitar case then?
Yes, well, maybe.
Why did you open the guitar case?
Huh?
Miss Karita's dead body was right there in front of you, wasn't it? I would think that the first thing you would do is call for help, not open a guitar case.
I didn't have my phone on me, and I thought that he had his.
As the witness has said multiple times when she found the dead body, she was dazed.
Maybe I was curious to know if the bright red guitar was all right or not. I thought maybe the criminal took it.
Why would she care about the bright red guitar?
But getting back on topic, not a big deal though, right? The case was empty after all.
Was it really empty? I was just wondering if maybe when you opened the case, the guitar was still inside. How long have you been a lawyer, Mr. Wright? Have a little professionalism. The bright red guitar was found at the studio. These trials would be over in half the time if you would just pay attention.
yes, pay more attention, Miss Wright.
Sorry.
As for why I opened the case, even I don't know.
Is that because you were shocked and dazed at the discovery of the victim's body?
Yes, that's probably it.
I'm not going to get anywhere if I continue pressing her like this. The only way to make her talk is with evidence. I guess I should give it a try.
Come on, Phoenix, we can't afford to let up on her now.
I wasn't planning on letting up, but
She's at her weakest now, so this is our chance.
yeah, if we had a weapon to hit her with.
I'm sure a weapon is hiding somewhere in the court record, waiting to be found. I don't remember too clearly, because I was a bit dazed.
Our case.
The case was empty after all.
Oh. I have a pretty good idea of what's in it, especially since I know the future. Uh-oh. The witness statement is clearly faulty, Your Honor.
I'm sorry, but I can see nothing faulty. Unfortunately, I will have to penalize you, Mr. Wright.
Okay. Oh, I must be on the wrong track.
Not a big deal after all. Oh, you are. Not a big deal. The case was empty.
There's no way that you were the one who opened the guitar case.
Why would you say that?
It's elementary, my dear. Because the only fingerprints on this guitar case are those of the victim.
What is it, Miss Andrews?
You shouldn't assume that I must have left prints just because I touched the case.
What do you mean?
What if I were to tell you that I was wearing gloves at the
Gloves? But why would you be wearing gloves at the time?
It was the night of the award ceremony, so of course I dressed up for the occasion. Yes, now I remember. I'm almost sure that I was wearing a pair of thin gloves.
I see. Well, Miss Wright, it seems the witness was wearing gloves at the scene of the crime.
That's strange. You're wearing gloves? Isn't that a little strange?
That's not a little strange. Why is that strange? You have something to prove that I was not wearing gloves at the time?
Yes. Madame, do you like Jews? I have your proof right here. This wine glass.
The wine glass.
You left your fingerprint fairly clearly on this wine glass.
Ah,
Even if you took your gloves off when you poured yourself this glass of juice, wouldn't you think it was just a little strange that you put your gloves back on just to open the guitar case?
ah!
Order! Order! Order!
Looks like you hit the nail on the head this time.
What do you mean?
I believe the guitar case plays a very important role here.
But it's just an empty case.
I wonder if it really was empty, though.
The guitar, the bright red guitar, was at the studio.
Phoenix, drop all your presumptions. What was in the guitar case was not the bright red guitar.
You don't mean it was a bright white guitar? Wait, that's not right either.
I admit it would be unnatural for someone to do that.
Yes, that is an animation frame that I really like.
Now, the witness was not wearing gloves despite the fact on the case.
Your Honor, this is obviously the defense's usual misdirection tactic at work. The other court towards an unrelated topic and lull us into his misguided. No, Your Honor. Please recall that Miss Andrews had testified that the vase fell onto the guitar case, which means that the case was closed when the crime took place. However, it is wide open in this photo of the crime scene. I'm sure that this guitar case has some relation to the murder. If you are so sure, Wright, then I'm sure you can somehow substantiate your outrageous claim, correct? Please, enlighten us as to why this guitar case has anything at all to do with the murder.
Can you do that, Mr. Wright?
Well, let's suppose for a second that the bright red guitar was not the only thing that could have been in the case.
Bright red guitar not being the only thing? You don't mean to suggest that a bright black guitar...
So you intend to push your theory that the case was not empty? Is that it, Mr. Wright? I wouldn't say something that I didn't intend to prove.
Deflate that head of yours. You haven't proven anything yet.
Now then, let's have it. What was inside this case at the time of the murder?
This is a photograph.
Yes, Your Honor. This photograph was in the guitar case. Yes, but what is important is what is in that picture, Your Honor.
In this picture.
Doesn't take a genius to see what I mean. What I am proposing is... inside the guitar case was the Nickel Samurai, the hero's very own costume.
What? Miss Wright? Explain yourself.
Right, are you saying that the witness opened the guitar case to take out a costume? What insane point would there be to doing something like that? An insane point would be to wear the costume, of course. Miss Andrews put it on to hide her identity so that she could make her escape. After all, you couldn't let anyone see you leave.
could you, Miss Andrews? I refuse to accept your theory. You have anything to support such a preposterous idea? Just outside the door was an investigative photographer who was starving for a big scoop. And in the end, she managed to get this shot, correct?
You mean this photo?
Hello. Miss Andrews is here.
Order! Order! It looks like we've wandered into quite another mess again, haven't we?
Nice job, Phoenix.
Well, you know my strategy. Speak first, think later. Call me Draco Armgen.
So the real murderer was hiding inside a costume.
Wait 1 second, Your Honor. The Nickel Samurai's costume would have been Mr. Matangard's. Why would something of the defendant's be in the victim's room? And inside the guitar case of all places?
True. That is a little baffling. Mr. Wright, the court would like to hear your thoughts. What was the Nickel Samurai doing inside the guitar case?
I'm glad you asked. It was a spare costume. Uh-oh, the bar didn't disappear. Mr. On Guard did not take his costume off during the break period. Thank fuck. In that case, the costume we are talking about was a spare one. What?
Then, are you saying the night of the murder, there were 2 Nickel Samurai costumes at the Gatewater Hotel?
Yes, that is what I'm saying.
Then how do you explain the costume that was inside the guitar case?
It would mean that the victim himself had brought this very spare costume to the ceremony on purpose.
But why? The victim, Mr. Kurita, was the German ninja. Why would he secretly bring the Nickel Samurai spare costume with him? What could be the reason behind such a particular act?
And therein lies the sticky points.
What are you mumbling about yourself now? Have you been just rambling all this time without any sense of inner monologue?
Huh? No, I just...
Mr. Wright, please explain yourself. Why do you think the victim had the Nickel Samurai spare costume?
Phoenix, are you sure you can explain this one? Think carefully before you answer, and then answer with gusto. I believe in you.
Alright, this is what I think. The reason the victim brought the Nickel Samurai spare costume to the hotel was...
What is this?
On the night of the murder, after the stage show, the Nickel Samurai was going to hold a special press conference.
A press conference?
Yes. The Nickel Samurai was supposed to confess something at this conference. I heard about this as well. For once, you're not making something up, right? But what struck me as strange was that Mr. On Guard himself said he had no idea what he was supposed to be holding, that he had no idea he was supposed to be holding a press conference that night.
But how can that be?
The way I see it, that can only mean one thing. The conference was a setup. By none other than the victim, Mr. Juan Kurita himself.
The victim?
Yes. The spare Nickel Samurai costume was prepared for that very conference. Mr. Kurita was going to hold the press conference as the Nickel Samurai.
He was gonna dress up as the Nickel Samurai and hold a conference? Why would the victim do such a thing?
That's something I don't quite know yet. However, what I am concerned with right now is what he intended to reveal at that conference. The Nickel Samurai was going to confess something. And by confess, I'd wager he was going to revealed something about himself. Which means that Juan Kurita, posing as the Nickel Samurai, is going to speak about Matt on guard.
Yes, I guess that is what it would mean.
But if that's the case, that is not a confession, that's public disclosure.
Miss Andrews,
I can see why you're pros at what you do.
pardon me?
Yes, just as you say, the press conference was set up by Juan.
Miss Andrews, please offer us an explanation for this.
I was the one he asked to help set it up. And the person who prepared the second costume for him, that was also me.
You.
Juan had bet everything on the Gemma Ninja this year. And if he lost the Grand Prix, he was going to make sure Matt was going down with him. That's what he thought anyway.
He's gonna ruin him, huh?
Oh, he's going to ruin him, all right. It looked like somehow Juan had in his hands a secret so powerful that it would destroy Matt's acting career if it had been revealed.
What?
And do you know what the secret is of Mr. On Guard? The secret of Mr. On Guard's is, Miss Andrews?
That's something only Juan. I don't know what it is.
Ah, I see.
I've probably been coming off quite suspicious to everyone, but that is to be expected. I've been trying to protect Matt, after all.
Protect Mr. On Guard?
And yet again, another strange bit of truth comes to light, it seems. Miss Andrews, if you could, please tell us the truth about your behavior.
Yes, Your Honor. I understand.
Protecting Matt.
The moment I saw the crime scene, I had a feeling that Matt was the murderer. Matt had to kill Juan no matter what. And he didn't have an alibi for what he was doing at the time of the murder. My thoughts were confirmed by the evidence, the button and the knife. But I'm Matt's manager, so I felt that I had to protect him.
So you lied in court! How unforgivable! I will do nothing about this. This does account for everything.
Well, I am the logic. Finally seeing her true self. She was more nervous than a scared rabbit.
If the defense can find no doubt with this testimony, I'm ready to make a ruling. Please keep that in mind as you cross-examine Mr. Wright.
Like somehow everything has swung up to the opposite end of the scale again. That just means I have to put my weight into this and turn her logic upside down.
The moment I saw the crime scene, I had a feeling that Matt was the murderer.
Would you say that was your intuition speaking to you?
Don't confuse my methods of reasoning with your own.
Ugh.
If you want to prove that someone did something, you need three things.
3 things?
A motive and opportunity to commit the crime, and finally, decisive evidence. And if you think that these three things through, the answer becomes quite clear. You should have already known that, Phoenix.
And teach us that in school. At least, not from what I remember.
May I continue now? Matt had to kill Juan no matter what.
So would you say this need came from the press conference?
Yes. Do you know why Juan chose that event in a hotel for the conference? Because that was when he could have caused the most damage to the public's most beloved Matt on guard.
And you knew this plan, didn't you, Miss Andrews?
Yes, because I was the one who set up the conference and prepared the costume.
But I'm sure Mr. On Guard himself didn't know anything about the press conference.
Phoenix,
you have a law degree, right? You have a law degree, right?
Really? Can you show me any proof that he didn't know about the press conference?
I'm glad you asked. Anyway, the important thing here is the information was not in your testimony.
Yes, I agree. Miss Andrews, please correct your testimony, if you please.
Grasping at straws now, are we, Mr. Wright? I know what his motive was, but I don't have any way to prove that I'm right.
Has Mr. On Guard done something to hurt or betray you personally?
Why do you ask?
You were the one who helped Mr. Kurita with his press conference. That event was supposed to bring down Mr. On Guard, yet it still helped out. Ah, shit. This might have been optional dialogue. Thank fuck. The person on trial right now is Mr. On Guard, right? What the witness was thinking, helping the victim with his plan, is none of our concern. In any case, this means that the defendant had a motive to kill. Why do I keep doing this to myself?
And he didn't have an alibi for what he was doing at the time of the murder.
But didn't you already testify earlier that Mr. On Guard was taking a nap in his room? Are you telling me now that that too was a lie so you could cover for Mr. On Guard?
I'm not telling you anything of the sort. When I went to get him for the show, he honestly was sleeping. However, as to whether he was sleeping the entire time, I cannot say. I was too busy setting up the stage at the time.
I keep trying, but I can find no flaws with what Miss Andrews has said. I can't say the same for some people in this courtroom, however.
The judge is glaring straight at Mia.
He's glaring at you, smart guy. My thoughts were confirmed by the evidence, of course. The button in the knife.
You can hardly call the knife decisive evidence. The fingerprints on the knife could very well be a clever camouflage.
Then, what about the button?
Button?
It's clear from the crime scene that the victim and the murderer fought. And during the fight, the killer ripped the button from the Gem Ninja's costume.
You're talking about this button, correct?
That button was found in the pleats of Matsukama. Isn't that correct? I would think it makes it very decisive evidence.
Ooh. Looks like you're outfoxed again, Mr. Wright. Get fucked.
Anyway, the knife doesn't prove a thing. Please fix your testimony.
I can't stand the sight of a man who can't gracefully accept his defeat.
Thank goodness Mia can still look at me.
With an icy stare, yes.
Miss Andrews, for Mr. Wright's sake, please add this information to your testimony.
That button was torn off with one during his fight with Matt.
And how do you know that?
And the ends of the thread on the button and the costume were matched up. They're found to fit together perfectly, so I heard.
I heard that before too. But why would Miss Andrews know about this case down to such a fine detail?
Don't look at me like that, just because I'm prepared and you're not.
Oh, and I thought I had her this time for sure. If there's anything to trip her up on, it has to be here, but where and what?
I'm Matt's manager, so I felt that I had to protect him.
But what you really did was stab the guy in the back, didn't you? And at the worst possible time. Who's to say she's really stabbed the guy in the back, as you put it? This witness could have disclosed things about Mr. On Guard at any time. Why then would she wait until there was such a large audience before doing so? It's the same reason why Mr. Kurita planned such an elaborate conference. Miss Andrews wanted to cause Mr. On Guard as much damage as she possibly could. The witness bears ill will towards the defendant. This isn't the Phoenix Wright wax philosophical power hour. And please stop slandering the witness.
As I expected.
Miss Andrews' testimony seems pretty solid.
Really? Because to me it sounded a little wishy-washy.
wishy-washy? Well, I guess we'll see if I press a little more.
You should know this by now, but you'll need a strong, decisive evidence to make your talk. Got it, Chief!
I'm gonna pin you down this time, Miss Andrews.
From the moment I saw the crime scene, I had a feeling Matt was a murderer. I know his motive, but I don't have any way to prove I'm right. And he didn't have an alibi for what he was doing. Quentin was torn off of Juan during his fight with Matt.
Okay. Here to go.
So I wasn't actually saying anything for most of that, but it looks like my mic died as I was thinking. This is the victim's autopsy report. It clearly states that the cause of death was strangulation by scar.
Strangulation?
The knife stab to the victim was done after the victim had already died. But what does that mean? Let's examine the evidence. This button has the victim's blood on it. which means that it was ripped off of the costume. When?
After the knife was stabbed into the victim.
Exactly. Which means
it is impossible that this button was torn off during the victim's final struggle, because the victim was strangled to death in that fight.
Huh.
That's right, Miss Andrews. There's no way that this button was ripped off during the struggle. This button was consciously pulled off of the victim's already dead body.
Order! Order! What is the meaning?
What is the meaning of this, Wright? So what if the button was torn off the body after the victim had already died? What does that change? Let me ask you one simple question, Mr. Edgeworth. Why was the button torn off? What purpose did that serve? What purpose? We know now that this button was not torn off during the fight. So the murderer took the time and effort to purposely rip this from the victim's body. That would mean that the murderer had something in mind, wouldn't it?
Mr. Wright, does this mean you know what the murderer wanted to do with the button? What was it?
To pin the crime on guard. There's only one logical reason for doing something like that. It was to pin the crime on Mr. On Guard. There is no way anyone would put a bloodied button in their own pants. That's right. Mr. On Guard was set up. By the real killer, of course.
And the real murderer is... Well, Miss Wright, who in the world is the real killer then?
Finally. I can't believe I managed to bring this trial all the way up to this point. Phoenix, can't let your guard down yet. Not until the very end. The real killer, the person who planned to frame Mr. Edgeworth, On Guard. What? Miss Adrian Andrews. I choose you! You are Mr. Karita's killer.
What?
I like her bell bottom.
Order! 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 Mr. Wright! This is a very grave matter. Do you have any evidence that supports your charge?
Any evidence? I have all the evidence to point to Miss Andrews.
How preposterous. You can't stick any of that on me.
I can't, can I? Would you care to test me?
What about this knife?
The knife was used to stab the victim after he had already been strangled to death. It was used to throw suspicious onto Mr. On Guard, naturally. A knife covered in the defendant's fingerprints could only have been taken from his room. And the only one who had dinner with him and knew which knife to take was you.
Then, what about the button that was found in Matt's Hakama?
This button was removed from the victim's body after he had already died. The only people who could have done so were the person who found his body or the killer. However, if Mr. On Guard was the real killer, there's no way he would have had such incriminating evidence in his own Hakama. The only person who could have put this button into Mr. Ed On Guard's Hakama is the person who went to wake him from his nap. It was you yet again, Miss Andrews.
I see! What about the empty guitar case?
That is also another piece of evidence that incriminates Miss Andrews. The costume was used to hide the real killer's identity as they fled the crime scene. As you can see, the artist had to draw this as sensually as possible. Now, who could have known that there was such a costume inside the guitar case? It could have only been the person who prepared the costume for the victim. And that person is you, Miss Adrian Andrews.
No,
But Miss Andrews' fingerprints were nowhere to be found on the guitar case. And it was you who proved that she was not wearing gloves at the time. That's right! That's because she did not intend on leaving any prints. If anyone had found out that she had touched the case, they would have asked her why. So, to avoid leaving any prints, she used a towel or something else to open. But the glass of tomato juice is a different story. Miss Andrews purposefully left her fingerprints on the glass to show that, yes, indeed, she was the classic dazed discoverer of a dead body. Ah! And to top it all off, there is this photo. A photo of the killer as they exited the scene of the crime. No reasonable person on Earth can believe this nickel samurai is Mr. On Guard. He would have been much too short for his own costume if it was him. Speaking of how tall people are, Miss Andrews, you're also kind of short in stature, are you not?
please, stop.
Well, how about it, Miss Andrews? I've got her this time.
Miss Andrews?
I refuse to testify.
What was that?
There's a law. It says I can't be forced to testify about something if it can incriminate me.
Well, yes. You're absolutely correct, Miss Andrews. The law does provide us with a way to avoid self-incrimination. By allowing a witness to not testify if the testimony can cause damage to themselves.
What? Pleading the fifth is not something that most people would think to do on the spot. Actually, thinking back to yesterday, Mr. On Guard's room. Adrian Andrews!
Yes?
Think hard about what we just discussed. Understood?
All right.
That's it. That's when Francisca planted this idea into her head. She must have told Miss Andrews not to testify if things looked bad. You did such a good job proving everything up to this point, Phoenix. There's still one thing you haven't done. Something I haven't done? What's wrong, Wright? Are you finished already? Run out of evidence?
What's so humorous, Mr. Edgeworth?
I'm sure you've realized this as well, Your Honor. But everything the good lawyer here has proven up to this point is meaningless. What? Everything you have proven is circumstantial. Circumstantial? Yes, circumstantial. You have yet to provide a single piece of definitive proof. Prove that Miss Andrews did in fact harbor a wish to murder Miss Corrida.
Miss Andrews! You! Did you want to kill Mr. Corrida?
I believe this may lead to me incriminating myself, so I will abstain from answering.
But Miss Andrews, if you do that, it would be the same as admitting your guilt, don't you think?
Maybe so, or maybe not. There is nothing to prove it either way. Besides, you don't even know what crime I would be guilty of due to my silence.
No! He's taking that defiant attitude again. Mia, what should we do?
Somehow, we've landed in the worst possible situation.
I think we have reached some conclusion at this point in time. Miss Adrian Andrews has refused to testify, and the defense's theory is that she is the actual murderer. It has not been fully substantiated with solid definitive proof.
It's not true!
In this situation, there's only one thing this court can do, and that is to declare a recess.
Recess?
I request that both the prosecution and the defense look into this matter. At tomorrow's trial...
Tomorrow? We don't have it tomorrow. If we don't have a not guilty verdict today, then... Please wait, Your Honor. That's not necessary. The trial. Please continue the trial. What are you sweating for? Your client is getting one more day to live, isn't he? It's not it. This isn't about that. Edgeworth, I know you know who the real killer is. Please let the trial continue. If I don't get the verdict, then Maya...
But it's impossible to continue as long as the witness refuses to testify. Now then, this court is...
It is not impossible for this trial to continue.
Mr. Edgeworth, what are you...
It's true, Miss Andrews holds the right against self-incrimination. However, if the topic of conversation was something unrelated to whatever she may be guilty of, then she has no right to withhold testimony.
Yes, that is very true, but...
Actually, there is one little thing that I'm curious about. Miss Andrews, when you found the victim's dead body, you poured yourself a glass of juice.
Yeah, and?
I can't help but think of how unnatural that is. Usually when one finds a body, they are shaken up, not stirring a glass of juice.
So, my actions were unusual, but I've already...
Before you speak, I want to say that if you have a reason behind your actions, I would like you to testify to that effect.
Testify?
Your Honor, I would like to request that the witness testify again as to what happened when she first discovered the victim's body. Whatever we find out in this testimony should in no way implicate the witness.
I don't know what it is about Edgeworth today, but I can't get a good read off of him. Is he friend or foe? I just don't know.
The court acknowledges the prosecution's request. Miss Andrews, if you may, if you please.
When I found the body,
A glass of juice. I didn't really pour it for myself. I was surprised when I walked into the room and saw it in that messy state. Juan was sitting slumped over and tired looking in the corner. I saw him sitting like that. The thought he was dead didn't cross my mind. To be honest, I thought he was just fainted or something. I went to pour him some juice. When I realized that he was dead, that's when I knocked the flower vase over.
So you poured that glass of juice for the victim. Why didn't you say so in your testimony earlier?
I didn't think it was needed to include something so trivial.
Phoenix.
Please be careful there. If you can't find anything wrong with his testimony, then there's nothing left.
I know. Edgeworth. What the heck is going on in that brain of yours?
Now then, Mr. Wright, you may begin your cross-examination.
When I found the body,
A glass of juice. I didn't really pour it for myself.
but there wasn't anyone else in that room, right?
Of course not.
Then who did you pour it for?
Mr. Wright, there's a rhyme and reason for everything. Can you just wait a little longer for it to be revealed to you?
In other words, Wright, be quiet and listen.
Besides, I couldn't have said it better myself. I was surprised when I walked into the room and saw it in that messy state.
So, it was a mess. Are you sure it wasn't messy because of your fight with Mr. Kurita? understand your frustrations of not being able to prove your theory. However, before you go accusing people of crimes, go find yourself some evidence. And then, what did you see next, witness?
I witnessed a dick in your mouth. And Juan, he was sitting slumped over and tired looking in the corner.
Slumped over?
Yes, he was just sitting there and his head tilted forward. Eyes closed. It really looked like he was sleeping.
Is it just me, or did that right there sound a little odd?
When I saw him sitting like that, the thought that he was dead didn't cross my mind.
Then what did cross your mind?
I thought that maybe he had smashed everything up in anger because he lost the Grand Prix. Then felt tired after his rampage, so he decided to take a nap. Anyway, that's what I thought.
I see. So you didn't think he was dead at all?
To be honest, I thought he had just fainted or something, so I went to go pour him some juice.
You thought he fainted.
I thought he was asleep at first, but then the room was in such a messy state. I thought that maybe he had gotten into a fight with someone.
And that's when you went to pour the glass of juice?
Yes. I always had a hard time waking up, so Juan always has a glass of tomato juice.
I see. And after that, what happened next?
When I realized that he was dead, that's when I knocked the flower vase over. Well, what it comes down to.
Huh?
It's the absolute end for both sides. Adrian is letting her guard down. Phoenix, now is our best chance yet to kill the prosecution's case.
Isn't that a bit harsh? Andrews, will you tell us the truth this time? So you honestly didn't think he was dead when you found him?
No, not at all.
Even though this is what you saw when you discovered the body?
Ah!
What is the meaning of this?
Isn't it obvious, Your Honor? There's a knife sticking straight out of Mr. Kurita's chest. Anyone who saw this scene would have immediately thought that there was a dead man.
Well, you see,
I doubt a single person in the world would mistake this for someone who fainted. And then so nonchalantly go pour something to drink.
Your point is?
Miss Andrews, your testimony just now, it was all one giant lie.
ah!
And your lie has proven one thing very clearly. That you are the real killer.
Oh!
It looks like the defense has somehow brought the ugly truth to light. The defendant, Mr. Matt on guard, is not guilty after all.
But that's impossible. You're wrong.
Ms. Andrews, try to have some composure.
It wasn't me. It wasn't me, I tell you. It was Matt. I swear it. He's the one who killed Juan.
You were the one who refused to testify. And your reason for not doing so was that you might end up incriminating yourself.
That's because...
Miss Andrews, I will give you one last chance. What exactly are you hiding that may incriminate you?
I refuse to testify.
Then there is no need for this court to continue any further. Mr. Matt on guard's innocence has been clearly demonstrated.
Is it over? Have we found the truth at last?
What's wrong, Phoenix?
Usually, the real killer confesses his or her guilt. And now that I think about it, this is the first time someone hasn't.
Now then, I would like to hand down my verdict for Mr. Mad on Guard.
Okay. I'm going to put an image on the screen. Because this is the moment I was worried about. Okay. Edgeworth is about to say some really cringe shit in a second. I wouldn't blame you if you wanted to mute the stream for the following statement. This is your warning. Your Honor, the prosecution feels that it would be premature to pass down a verdict at this time. What? The reason is quite simple. I don't blame you. This witness has yet to speak the absolute real truth.
The absolute real truth. What are you?
Witness, don't you understand yet?
Huh?
I don't know who planted this silly idea in your head, but as long as you protect yourself through your silence, Mad on Guard will go free, and in his place, you will become the guilty party.
That's a lie. I don't believe you.
What?
I was told if I spoke, then it would be all over, and Matt would never be declared guilty.
What in the world is she talking about? Has she lost it?
I can't speak about it. I'm too scared. Francisca von Karma.
Huh?
Don't you remember, Phoenix? Sanders lives by gripping tightly onto the words of others. If she doesn't have the strength to believe in herself.
Right now, Miss Andrews is...
Yesterday, she was tossed a lifesaver by Miss von Karma. Don't say a word. No matter what happens, if you do, Matt on Guard will be acquitted. Miss Andrews undeniably, undyingly believes in those words right now, and is clinging on to them.
Then what should we do? This is the first time I've ever come across anything like this. But Miss Andrews has to be the killer, right? All we have to do now is get her not guilty. That is my only priority.
It wasn't me. I'm begging you. Please forgive me. I didn't kill Juan. Help. Please. Someone help me.
Mr. Wright!
Yes, Your Honor?
The court can't continue on like this. Therefore, I'd like to hear what you intend to do.
What I intend to do? What am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to say? Right. I suggest you think very carefully about this. Think about what this witness did and what she did not do. And think about who is the real mastermind behind this crime. Who's the real mastermind? Isn't that obvious? No one else it could be except the woman crying over there. Right? Come now, what will you do? What kind of a man are you, Mr. Wright? Okay. I have to win a complete acquittal today. There's no way around that. But I can't bring it myself to do it like this. Not when she's making a face like that. Miss Andrews, I would like to know what you are really hiding.
Mr. Wright, are you sure you know what you're doing?
Sure, Mr. On Guard would get an acquittal, but in his place, you would be found guilty. Is this really how you want this trial to end?
Be quiet. How dare you? You're trying to trick me.
That's enough. I commend you for trying, Mr. Edgeworth. However, it's clear that the defense's theory is the truth.
You're wrong.
What a shame. I had hoped things wouldn't come to this. However,
What is it, Mr. Edgeworth?
Miss Andrews, since you absolutely refuse to testify, it falls on my shoulders to discuss this to the court.
Stop.
Mr. Edgeworth?
This witness, how should I put this? She has an illness.
What?
And because of this illness, she has tried to commit suicide in the past.
Stop. Please stop.
No matter how you want to hide it, it's of no use. I have the evidence right here.
That's...
I understand. The second part of the suicide report. The attempted suicide report. What will you do now, witness? You know what I'm about to do, don't you? I will now reveal to the court the true nature of this pitiful woman known as Adrian Andrews. The secret of her dependent nature. Having other people know about it scares her more than anything else in the world.
Please. Please stop. I beg you. If people find out. I'll...
If you're going to say you would rather choose death, that is of no concern to me. Edgeworth, how can you be so cold? However, before you die, I will pull the truth from your still breathing lips. No matter what I have to do. So, will you tell the court yourself, or shall I? Either is fine with me.
I'll talk. Please help me. Nothing matters anymore. When I first saw him, I thought he had fainted. Honestly.
Okay.
When I realized he was dead, that's when I formulated my plan. Once I made sure there was no one in the hallway, I made sure to a mad dash back to Matt's room. And then I stabbed one's body with a knife, ripped off the button. Just when I finished and was returning to Matt's room, I had a bit of an inconvenience. And that's why I ended up using the nickel samurai costume.
Stabbed the body with a knife. But why would you do that?
Isn't it obvious to pin the blame on a certain person? A certain cowardly man.
What do you mean by all this?
It might take this court a little while to understand, but this is the truth.
The real killer is Matt. That scumbag of a man. I'll never forgive him. He's trying to escape his guilt again. Just like last time.
Last time. So, Miss Andrews stabbed the victim, Juan Corrida, in the chest with the knife. However, she didn't do it with murder in mind. She did it with the intent of framing Matt on guard for the murder. And this is her crime. What? How is this possible? I mean, wasn't Miss Andrews supposed to be the real murderer?
Mr. Wright, please get over your shock and commence the cross-examination.
When I first saw him, I really thought he had fainted then.
But you could tell from the state the room was in that there must have been a fight. Are you telling the truth when you say that you did not know he was dead?
He had a scarf tied around his neck, but the scarf is part of the Jammin' Ninja's costume, so I didn't think anything about it was strange. His head was also tilted down a bit, so I couldn't see his face that well. Well, I thought I'd wake him up, and went to pour the juice. I realized he was dead. That's when I formulated my plan.
What is this plan you had?
I knew right away the murderer was Matt. I knew because Juan was going to expose Matt's weak point to the world. So Matt did this to stop Juan and silence him for good. That's when I thought I should forge some evidence and pin this crime on Matt.
But the forged pieces of evidence were the knife and the button.
The first thing that came to mind was to plant the knife. Once I made sure there was no one in the hallway, I made a dash back to Matt's room.
That was so you could get the knife, correct?
The knife Matt used for dinner had his fingerprints all over it. I thought if I used that, then the police would certainly turn their eyes towards him. Matt was napping with his costume on at the time. I slipped in, took the knife, and returned to the scene of the crime. And then I stabbed Juan's dead body with a knife and ripped off the button.
So you're the one to stab the victim with that knife.
It gives me goosebumps to think about it now. What a horrible thing I did. But at the time, I couldn't control my own body. It moved on its own. And when I stabbed Juan's dead body, I suddenly realized something. If I used the button somehow, I could make Matt look even more suspect.
So you thought to rip one of the buttons off and then plant it in Mr. Ongal's Hakama.
Yes. That's what I planned to do. But things never go that smoothly, do they? Just when I finished and was returning to Matt's room, I had a bit of an inconvenience.
An inconvenience?
There was a woman with a camera at the ready, loitering in the hallway.
I'm willing to bet my spikes it was Lotta.
There was also a woman with a ray gun at the ready, pacing back and forth.
That's Miss Oldbeck for you.
I'd already been caught and made into a big soup for a certain weekly tabloid once. So I couldn't very well go out looking like myself and get caught again. That's why I ended up using the Nickel Samurai costume.
You were the one who prepared that costume, weren't you?
Yes, I took it from Global Studios. I also put it in Juan's guitar case the day before the award ceremony.
You did this in preparation for the press conference, correct?
Yes. Juan wanted to wear that costume and hold a press conference in it. He was going to disclose Matt's big secret there.
And what is the secret?
Matt, I don't know. Anyway, I thought that if I were to leave Juan's room in the Nickel Samurai costume, people would think that Matt was the real murderer. I was very careful not to leave any fingerprints when I opened the guitar case. I absolutely did not want anyone to know about the costume.
I think we've heard enough. So after that, you went back to Mr. Ongal's room and planted the button?
To Matt's Hakama? Yes. After that, I folded up the costume I was wearing and put it into a bag. Then I snuck it out of the hotel and got rid of it.
My word! What does all of this mean?
Mr. Edgeworth, is it? Real criminal. Matt on guard. Yesterday, that woman prosecutor sat me down for a talk.
Francisca, huh?
She said that I should, under no circumstances, confess to what I had done. If I had just kept quiet, then Matt would be found guilty for sure. I had no choice but to believe in her words.
What this witness has done is clearly unlawful. However, as long as her testimony stands, we can be certain she is not the real killer.
Wait, Your Honor! The defense still... Right. It's pointless. At this point in time, it is not possible to indict Miss Andrews on anything.
Yes, exactly. There isn't a single piece of evidence that points to her as the murderer. The Cross-examination of the witness is over, and so is today's trial. You couldn't establish that the witness was the culprit. Please let it go, Mr. Wright.
But
Mr. Edgeworth, please place Miss Andrews under further questioning. Under arrest for further questioning.
understood, Your Honor. The prosecution will arrange for her detention immediately.
That is all. Court is adjourned for today.
For those of you still here, you'll notice that was a different sound. Today's trial. It's over. I didn't win an acquittal. Witness, would you mind if I asked you something? Edgeworth,
What is it?
before you leave court today, I was wondering if I might look at one thing. Yeah, we're clear now. You just missed a new sprite that Phoenix had because the trial is over. And he knows what that means for Maya. The card in your hand, it's had my interest for quite some time now.
What exactly?
What exactly is it?
Oh, this? Mr. Wright also asked about this. Although I didn't remember at the time you asked me about it, Mr. Wright. I remembered just now. I found this in the room on that day.
The room? That day.
Yes. I found this card when I discovered Juan's body. It was lying there right next to him.
You found that card next to the victim's body?
I supposed I must have unconsciously slipped it into my pocket. But not as if this card has any relevance to Juan's murder, right?
Yeah, I guess not, but it's still a strange card, if you ask me. But as far as a clue to this case, I don't see why.
Witness, that card! Give it to me! Hurry! Do you have any idea what you've stupidly yet inadvertently done? This... I can't believe you hid this from me all this time!
I didn't mean to.
What is this?
What is this all about?
I've never seen Edgeworth so emotional before. That card. What in the world is it? And what does it mean? That is where I will call the stream for today. No, I don't think so. Okay. Now, whoops. Yeah. So Adrian is not going to jail, and there's going to be a day 2 to this trial, which does not look good for Maya. We have now passed the worst
anytime it's brought up, it's still going to be bad, but it's going to be treated with a lot more respect that it deserves. And the people around it as well are going to be treated like appropriately so. At least in my opinion. Now I'm going to see if any of my friends are streaming, and I'm going to send y'all over. You visited my stream. My friend right now is playing A Hat in Time. So, feel free to show him a good time.
Right now!
How do I end the stream?